I came home from a work trip to find a slab of concrete sitting where my father's corn used to grow. Not a driveway, not some harmless foundation, but a full-on drone launch pad built right in the middle of my 12 acres, without permission, without warning, without even the decency of a note taped to the door. 40 years of family history bulldozed in a week. And the worst part? They had no idea whose field they just invaded or what kind of trouble they'd really stepped into. At first I thought maybe I was losing my mind. 3 guys with high-end surveying gear had been out there days earlier acting like they owned the place. Dawn was breaking. I was sipping coffee and suddenly they were striding through my corn rows like they were on some official mission. The bright orange sign planted overnight read, HOA Development Zone. HOA, 3 letters that should never show up in a farmer's cornfield. I yanked it out of the ground so fast I nearly broke the stake. My wife Tracy always says I can go from calm to volcanic in seconds, but trust me, any man would have done the same if strangers walked all over his family's land. Our little Ohio town had been dying since Hartfield Manufacturing shut its doors. 847 jobs gone in a single week. Empty storefronts, foreclosure notices, the diner closed. Everyone desperate, everyone clinging to the promise of something, anything that might bring work back. That's when Miranda showed up. She wasn't from around here. You could tell by the way she dressed sharp suit in a town where most people live in denim. HOA President Robert was with her shuffling papers, eyes darting like a man who'd rather be anywhere else. He tried to read a statement about community progress, but Miranda kept correcting him, stepping in like a puppet master tugging her strings. Mr. Miller, she smiled, though her eyes were cold. Surely you want what's best for our community's recovery. She laid out charts, graphs, surveys, claimed 73% of residents supported building a recreational drone facility on my land. Funny thing, I never saw that survey. Neither did my neighbors Tom or Pete, judging by the way their faces fell. Miranda promised jobs revenue growth. She slid papers across the table like she was dealing salvation, and then she started asking questions. Not about soil or property lines, but about my schedule, Tracy's commute, what times we were usually home. It wasn't casual chit-chat, it was reconnaissance. 18 years in military aviation had taught me what an intelligence-gathering operation looks like. This wasn't neighborly concern, this was surveillance wrapped in a smile. The harassment came quick. A mailbox mysteriously tampered with an official county assessment notice already filled out with details no outsider should have. Drone flights buzzing overhead at all hours, some with infrared cameras. Construction crews parked in our driveway by accident, heavy equipment tearing up Tracy's rose garden. And through it all, the HOA shrugged. Community access, Robert mumbled as if he believed it. Meanwhile, the town was turning on us. Tracy heard parents whispering at school that she was standing in the way of teacher jobs, that we were selfish for resisting progress. Pete was drowning in debt, 3 months behind on equipment loans. Miranda waved 6-figure construction contracts under his nose. Tom told me flat out, Jack, you're wrong on this. Our survival matters more than your cornfield. I won't lie, that broke me. There were nights I sat on the porch staring at the ruined rows, asking myself if I was the crazy one. Was I really selfish, clinging to tradition while the whole town sank? Maybe I should just roll over, let them pour concrete, keep my head down. One man can't fight an entire community. Maybe I was the villain after all. But then Tracy, steady as always, handed me her camera roll. Photos of drones flying at altitudes that required FAA clearance, evidence of equipment staged for something bigger than recreation. Notes she'd found in Miranda's trash, our daily schedules, times when the house was empty, a big red X scrawled over our property with tomorrow's date. That's when I knew. This wasn't about corn, this was about control, leverage, and something darker, and I was done playing victim. I filed complaints with the FAA, contacted old colleagues at Wright-Patterson. Colonel Davis didn't mince words. Jack, those drone signatures aren't civilian. They're probing radar response patterns. Somebody's running a live fire intelligence operation under the guise of community development. Miranda wasn't just a greedy developer, she was a contractor for foreign interests, weaponizing my town's desperation to cover her tracks. The showdown came at the so-called grand opening. Bright banners, news cameras, families lining up to watch history. Miranda beamed like she'd saved us all. At 10:25, her crew launched a demonstration drone to showcase capabilities. At 10:28, I saw contrails streaking the horizon. Phantom Leader Squadron right on schedule, screaming through the Charlie 7 training corridor like they had every Tuesday for 18 years. And Miranda's drone was climbing straight into their path. I ran like hell, shoving past security. The operator sneered, "You don't have authority here." I flashed my military ID, my voice steel. "Deputy Commander Airspace Security Division. Shut it down now." He froze, but it was already too late. I grabbed the emergency radio. "Phantom Leader, this is Airspace Control. Break right immediately. Civilian aircraft 12 o'clock high." Two F-16s banked hard overhead, sonic booms rattling the community center windows, sending kids screaming. In front of everyone, hundreds of lives nearly ended because Miranda never bothered to check a public training schedule. 47 feet less than a football field separated catastrophe from survival. The silence afterward was deafening. Neighbors who'd cheered my humiliation days earlier stared wide-eyed, realizing what almost happened. Reporters shoved microphones at me. I didn't sugarcoat it. Every civilian drone above 400 feet requires clearance. What you just saw could have killed pilots and civilians alike. This wasn't oversight. This was negligence. From that moment, Miranda's empire crumbled. The FAA grounded every drone within 50 miles. The FBI swept in, linking her to TechFlow Dynamics, a company already under investigation for selling intelligence to foreign buyers. Environmental reports she'd filed, forged. Petition signatures, dead people moved away residents. Jobs promised, smoke and mirrors. Tom, the same man who had accused me of selfishness, stood up in front of cameras and admitted Jack tried to warn us. We didn't listen. He just saved lives. Pete confessed that Miranda dangled money over his bankruptcy and he betrayed me out of fear. Robert melted down, babbling excuses while Miranda's investors screamed at her over speakerphone cutting ties in real time. The woman who'd orchestrated everything was suddenly just another fraudster cornered by her own lies. I watched her composure crack, voice breaking as she pleaded, "You don't understand. I needed this. I lost everything." But no amount of crocodile tears could erase what she'd done, turning neighbors against each other, nearly killing pilots, selling out our town for foreign cash. Federal agents cuffed her in the parking lot as the community looked on stunned into silence. And just like that, the nightmare ended where it began, on the dirt of my family's field. The corn was gone, the land scarred, but Miranda's power, her grip over desperate neighbors, was shattered. She built her empire on fear and manipulation, but all it took was one near miss in the sky to bring it crashing down. Sometimes the only way to beat bullies, whether they hide behind HOA bylaws or investor spreadsheets, is to stand your ground, because truth has a way of showing itself when lives are on the line.